I'm angry. My father is angry too. But I also get it, it's cruel to force people to uphold promises made by ancestors they never even knew. It makes sense someone might want to run away from it. Even so, this time, S could have died. If the timing had been different, even by chance, she might have died. And what about the other boxes? If this is happening in other groups too, people could be dying right now. So please, J-san, tell us why things turned out this way.
M then pointed to K.
She's not an outsider. She's a woman of childbearing age who was there. That makes her a potential victim. And A, maybe he's not an outsider either. His last name is. That name isn't exactly common around here, is it?
At that, J turned and looked at me. J. I see. J's story, with some help from S's father and mother to interpret his dialect. I suppose I should explain the box first. The Chippo was managed by 3 households, S's family, my family, and the T family across the way. It was shared between us 3. Each box is rotated between certain houses. When the head of a family dies, the next family in line is supposed to take custody of the box. The new head is told about it by their predecessor. If there's no heir, the box waits until one is born. If a family never produces an heir, the box is passed to the next house in rotation. Some groups manage it with 3 houses, others with 4. And families from different groups are forbidden from talking about each other's boxes. The rotation has a purpose, to dilute the contents of the box over time. The rules are, never allow children or women to approach the box. The households not in possession must watch the household that is. They receive new ofuda, charms, from M's shrine and replace the old ones. After the agreed number of years, the box is taken to M's shrine to be dealt with. That's the pact made with M's family long ago.
Right, my family has always been the one to handle the disposal, purification, basically. We kept records of every box and its custodian.
J. Exactly, so, when S's grandfather died, I should have received the box. But I was terrified. Please forgive me? First T's father died, then S's grandfather right after him. Even though I knew men weren't affected, I was scared out of my mind, so I waited for S's father to bring me the box. But days passed, and he never came. So I talked with T's heir. We realized, maybe S's father didn't even know about it. If so, maybe we could escape. We decided, S's father would remain ignorant. The shed would still be watched. T would change the ofuda one last time, then move away. He went to Matsu. That way, outsiders would assume, oh, that group's done with it now. And I would continue to secretly watch over the shed. When the appointed year came, I would take the box from the shed and deliver it to M's shrine. But until then, if S or her mother wandered too close, and if they died, well, nobody outside would ever know, since it's taboo to talk about other groups' boxes. That's what we decided. T and I'm so sorry, truly sorry. At that, J bowed deeply to the floor, apologizing over and over. S's father said, my father, S's grandpa, only ever told me, stay away from the shed. And honestly, it always felt creepy, so I avoided it. S nodded, she'd felt the same way. That's why they'd finally decided to just tear it down. And while cleaning, S found the box. S's mother and father were shocked, almost unable to believe it. But S's grandmother just muttered quietly, as if it all made sense. S granny. So that's why I was always kept away from the shed. M spoke again.
I see, so that's how it was. Even though you didn't take the box, you couldn't escape, you still had to keep watch. You suffered too, J. The appointed years left were 19, right? Either way, even if you had accepted the box, I probably would have ended up purifying it anyway, lol. S's father, S's mother, S's granny, S. I know this doesn't feel real. It sounds ridiculous in this day and age. But it is real. Please, don't blame J too much. When you know what's inside that box, anyone would want to run. Now that the box is gone, you're safe. Just take this as an unbelievable story you happened to hear, and forgive J, okay?
J sat there slumped, head down, looking crushed. M spoke again.
I think everyone here wants to know what was actually inside that box. So I'll tell you what I know. Honestly, I don't know everything. But since this box is finished, there shouldn't be any problem in talking. The truth is, there are 2 more boxes left. Most likely, I'll be the one to purify them someday. So, I want to be clear about what we're dealing with. And S's father, you were supposed to know this anyway. And if I don't explain it now, you'll just keep pestering me forever.
Everyone laughed a little at that, even through the tension.
Those boxes are called Kotori-Bako, child-taking boxes. Because inside are the remains of children who were culled. They were made sometime between the late 1860s and early 1880s. The hamlet where they originated suffered especially cruel discrimination, worse than most places. Life was so harsh that even though people needed children as workers, they couldn't afford to raise them. So, many were culled. Back then, this area was under the authority of a place called Redacted. And that domain, in particular, persecuted them brutally. In the late 1860s, there was a rebellion on the Oki Islands. It was crushed after about a year. One of the rebels escaped here, into this hamlet. They called him an island returnee. You probably learned about that rebellion in school. About how Oki was once a wealthy land, right? Anyway. This man, let's call him AA, was captured after the rebellion was suppressed, but he escaped and fled here. The villagers didn't want him. Taking in a fugitive would just bring more persecution. So, they were going to kill him. Ah had one more condition. He would teach them how to make the boxes, but the very first one made would belong to him. If they couldn't agree, they could just kill him. If they did agree, he would teach them, and then, once it was complete, he himself would take his own life. That's what he told them. Apparently, the first box was called Hake. He insisted it should never be made again, except for that first one. And he demanded, "Give me 1 woman and 1 child, in addition to the 8 children for the box." That was the deal. Now, the process itself, it's gruesome. First, you build a complicated wooden puzzle box. Like the one S found, something you can't open easily. Then you fill the inside with the blood of a female animal and let it sit for a week. Before the blood completely dries, you seal it. Then comes the worst part. What goes inside? For newborns, you take the umbilical cord and the tip of their index finger. For children under 7, you take the fingertip and their entrails, squeezing out blood. For children up to 10, you take the fingertip. You seal those inside. The number of children and their ages determined the name of the box. 1 child, Ippo, 2 children, Niho, 3, Sanpo. 4, Shippo, 5, Goho, 6, Roppo, 7, Chippo. And anything beyond that was forbidden. Each type of box had a symbol carved on it, triangle, square, etc., to mark which it was. And then, they did it. The first box, the Hake, was made. 8 children, 1 woman. Their names are still remembered here.
I can't write them here. Sorry, but we've heard them. We know them.
The villagers saw with their own eyes what the box could do. The effect was exactly as you might expect. It killed women and children. Not quickly, either. It made them suffer. Their insides tearing apart slowly, just from being near the box. That's when the villagers decided. They would keep making them.
M paused, his voice low.
In less than 2 weeks, 15 children and 1 woman had been killed. And the box they created was a chippo, the very same kind I had to deal with.
M continued.
After they created the first chippo, the villagers offered it to the local shoya, village headman of. Officially, it was presented as a gift, a token of loyalty. But what happened in that household was horrific. The women and children vomited blood and died in agony. The villagers then spread word, quietly, but deliberately. They said, "From now on, leave our hamlet alone. We will never forgive the discrimination, but if you leave us be, we will do nothing. If you retaliate, we will unleash the curse again." They also demanded, "Return the box to us immediately. Do not ever reveal the reason. Simply leave us alone." And they declared, "We already have 7 boxes in existence." That part was a bluff. But the surrounding villages didn't know that. So, just like that, the harassment, the persecution, all of it stopped. Overnight, the pressure on the hamlet was gone. And after that, the villagers kept making boxes. Even though Ah disappeared somewhere, he had left behind the knowledge of how to manage them. Never let women or children near. Always keep them in a dark, damp place. The curse inside weakens as years pass. If a box becomes unnecessary or too dangerous, take it to the shrine that enshrines, name redacted. Never to a temple, only to that shrine. For the next 13 years, they kept making them. Not constantly, only when a child had to be culled. The remains would be stored and placed into a box later. Each time, when killing the child, the adults whispered, hate, blame. They tried to shift the guilt away from themselves. By the 13th year, they had created 16 boxes. 6 Ippo, 2 Niho, 5 Goho, 3 Chippo. Even with just that, 56 children. And some boxes failed in the making, so probably more. It's unthinkable now. Absolutely insane.
M's face darkened.
And then, in that 13th year, disaster struck. All the boxes were being stored in one place under guard. But an 11-year-old boy managed to slip past the watch. He stole a Chippo, one of the strongest, and a fresh one at that. The box was designed to fascinate children, like a puzzle toy. Of course the boy was curious. He brought it home. That very day, every woman and child in his family, including him, died. That was the first time the villagers truly realized the box was not just a weapon against outsiders. It could turn on them too. And once it was unleashed, it couldn't be stopped. Terrified, the villagers decided to dispose of the boxes. They went to my ancestors, the priests of our shrine. They begged them to take care of it. But my ancestors judged the curse too strong. So they proposed a way to weaken it. The rotation system Jay mentioned earlier. Divide the boxes among several households. Each house keeps it for a fixed span, sometimes 110 years, sometimes 140 for a Chippo. When the time was up, the box would be delivered to the shrine for disposal. And to ensure no one tried to escape, the rules were strict. No talking about boxes outside your own group. No early deliveries. And after each delivery, the person who handed over the box was killed. That's how the system began. It's why my family kept records of every single box.
M sighed deeply.
In my grandfather's time, he had to deal with most of them. But one remained, a Chippo with an especially long term. The very one S brought that night. The original Chippo, the first one they ever made.
M went on, speaking quietly now, almost to himself.
The way the years are assigned to each box, it's unclear. Some are 110 years, some 140 for a Chippo. We don't know why. Maybe my ancestors knew something about it. Or maybe the man who taught the method, gave those instructions. We just don't know.
He looked at all of us.
Anyway, that's everything I know about the KOTORI-BAKO. And the one I dealt with, was the original Chippo. The very first one they made.
After the meeting ended, I later asked M on the phone again.
Yeah, the truth is, even I don't know why the years are set the way they are. It could have been something passed down from AA, or something my ancestors figured out on their own.
That's the story. Honestly, it feels like something out of a cheap horror novel. But I saw it with my own eyes. The box was real. I hesitated about posting this. It's obviously taboo. If people from that hamlet knew this story had leaked, they'd be furious. But M told me, there are only 2 boxes left. Both Chippo. He said he'd take responsibility for purifying them. Still, there are so many mysteries. Who exactly was AA? Where did he learn how to make these boxes? Why was he in Oki in the first place? What happened to the first box, the Hake? What did A do with it? Did this knowledge come from Kyoto or somewhere else? Even about the names, like Ippo, Niho, Hake, I wonder if they came from words like Apu, Nifu, or maybe Hake was written as 8 openings. I don't know. All I know is that I want to find out, not just for curiosity's sake, but because A had the same last name as me. My father once said our ancestors came from Oki. Could I be related to AA? I honestly don't know. I'll try digging in local histories, maybe check the library. If I learn anything, I'll post it here. Thanks for reading this ridiculously long story. Sorry if I sounded pretentious or dramatic, it's just that the story hit me that hard. I don't know if anyone will believe me, but at least now, you've heard it.
This story is one of the most famous horror tales in Japan. When I first read it, I was shocked. It's terrifying to think that curses like this might exist so close to us. It makes me hesitant to go out without reason. Do you have stories of curses or dark rituals in your own region? Please share them in the comments below.